I love me some breaking news, and I'll tell you this is a good move by your Seattle Seahawks as they move today to go add Ernest Jones from the Tennessee Titans for a 4th-round pick while also flipping Jerome Baker back in the other direction. So there is a lot here to kind of unpack on this deal. It's not as simple and easy as just, let's just throw a player and flip him over. There's a couple of moving parts, I think, in a play on this deal that I think might make it make more sense if you might be on the fence or, should just sell you solely on it. First, this is a move about improving the here and now on this football team. If you were wondering whether or not this is a team here in a state of flux in their belief of it, or that they're just sort of treading water through this season to get to the other season, to get themselves more firmly established, Macdonald here, to get other players that are going to more firmly fit his scheme, say nothing of Grubb. This is not an indication of that type of move, nor was the Roy Robertson-Harris trade from about a week ago either. The team is making moves to believe that they can contend in this season, that they can compete in this season, and in an NFC that looks wide open, and an NFC West that looks wide open. Why shouldn't they think that? Anything can happen if you get yourself to playoff time, and if you see an opportunity to improve a position like this, and it's not going to cost you a lot, why not do so? But I think this does firmly tell you that, because you could see a team in the first year under a new coaching staff thinking that they've got to be more centered in this sort of conservative approach. That would be atypical, and that's not what we're seeing here. A 4th-round pick is not super substantial draft capital, but it's not cheap either. What you're getting in this trade, though, is a different trade from the Roy Robertson-Harris trade. This is a rental, by all accounts, with the potential to buy, with an option to buy. And that, what I mean by that is that you have here in Ernest Jones, a guy that is going into his contract year. He started out with the Rams as a 3rd-round pick. This is a rugged defender. He's going to be able to instinctually get to pretty much any play on the football field, but he's not per se your sideline to sideline rangy guy like you might normally hear is described to these inside linebackers now. Can he get sideline to sideline like that? Now, this guy can get there, but he's going to get there as much with his brain. And when he does arrive, he's going to be bringing the brawn, where you will understand he is a much more sure tackler than what you had there at Jerome Baker at the position, where when he arrives, the ball carrier atypically tends to go down. But what happened there with the Rams situation is that he was due to be paid. He had earned the right to be paid coming off really what was a career year there for the Rams, especially as a blitzer and a pass rusher for them, in addition to being a really solid run defender. Maybe get a little bit of weakness there when it comes to him in coverage. He's not necessarily going to be great in that respect, but let's also face it, it wasn't exactly like we were watching Jerome Baker be all that great either when it came to him in coverage. But he is a guy that will get himself to the right spot at the right time. He arrives with some bad intentions when he gets there. He provides an ability to hit and bring the ball carrier down. It just says something that you get a guy that's got the ability to wrap up and bring a ball carrier down. How many times have we watched throughout the course of not just this season, but in recent seasons, where a guy catches a ball or a running back's out of the backfield, you got a guy basically cornered and you should be able to bring him down, but he just slips right out of the tackle of the defender. This is as much an indictment back to Baker's inability to do that he gets one-on-one heads up. I can't trust him to tackle in space. I can trust that if I put this guy in the right position, he will go tackle in space. But the reason the Rams didn't want to pay him, I think, comes down to, I'll say, according to my quote-unquote inside sources on this one, and take that with a grain of salt, if you will. But according to my inside sources on this one, Jake, our guy that I talked to over there at the round table, he's the Rams content creator for them, does what I do for the LA Rams. He said that according to what he was hearing in the background sources on this, that Ernest Jones hadn't shown up in necessarily the best of shape this year coming into camp, that he wasn't playing that well in the inter-practice squad games, and that factored into why he was traded essentially for a ham sandwich to the Tennessee Titans at the end of training camp. And that's something that might get people a little bit turned on this one a bit as they go, well, the Rams got less back for him than we just gave up. But that was also the Rams flipping a player purely for a pick. The Seattle Seahawks in this situation are flipping a player and pick for a player. They want to make sure they're getting Jerome Baker's money off the books here as well, because you evenly, for the most part, swap the base salaries on both of these deals. You may take on just a couple of extra $100,000 over the course of the season on this current deal with what you're adding on. And Seattle didn't want to have both contracts sitting on the books, I don't think. I think they want to try to save out as much of this money as they can this season in order to roll it over into next year. Or who knows, maybe they're even going to potentially go out there and make another move here before the end of the trade deadline. So this was a guy that's the reputation of where it was with him going to the Titans. He goes to the Titans. They're running the same defense we're kind of running here with Macdonald. So as Macdonald talked about in his press conference today, the terminology will all be in about the same kind of place. You can expect it to be where he's able to understand very quickly where he needs to be, what this call means. It's not going to be this taking him 7-8 games to kind of figure out and pick everything up. So a very quick onboarding process. And so in addition to bringing that really good tackling element that he brings to play that's still missing a bit. Let's just be kind with it as I can. It's just still missing a bit on this defense. He also brings that ability to blitz and rush the passer. And last year, you had Aaron Donald still in many ways at the height of his powers. And so he was taking a lot of that attention up for offensive lines when he was doing anything, wherever you line him up. Defensive end, he's going to get his 2 blockers. One tech, he's getting his 2 blockers. And so you can formulate a lot of your pass rush around a guy like that that's going to draw that type of attention. And I think it's fair to say that once the Seattle Seahawks team starts to see those defensive linemen get a little healthier, Byron Murphy get a little bit more up to speed, they might start to draw a little bit more attention up front there, providing then Macdonald the ability to draw up those blitzes at key moments and know it's going to get home. I saw a lot of Jerome Baker at times when he's been sent on the blitz this year, and quite frankly, Dodson for that matter, just getting stonewalled when they get right up in there. They're not really much of a threat, especially after years of watching Bobby Wagner be able to dip and bring a little swim move into play when he was trying to blitz and get up in there. They didn't have any of that to their game, really. This also affords Dodson to move out of the Mike role, which he can do, and he certainly is functional there within, but probably now in learning him more as a player, best more into that will linebacker role, and then sliding here Jones into the pure Mike and having him run that. So you might be able to improve 2 positions in one with this trade. And again, with the 4th round pick, part of it comes down to you having to include or want to include, I think, Baker in this deal. You're also, what makes this a little bit different from the Rams making that move there early on, is that there's an intention. You're thinking if the Titans bring him in there, he's only 25 years old, and that the Titans are going, we're going to get you from the Rams for really cheap, and if we like what we see, we'll pay you. They're not as much thinking about the compensatory game in this when they're making that trade at training camp. Whereas the Seahawks here from this situation can look at it and understand, we're not going to have any money really to go out there and spend in free agency this offseason. So any free agent walking out the door is going to be what I'd call a compensatory free agent, meaning that their signing is going to work in our favor to maxing out those compensatory picks, which can be up to 4 compensatory picks. So you have here a guy at 25, comes in, balls out, but maybe you don't want to quite keep him. He goes on the market, signs a 3-year, $33 million deal. Oh, look, you get a 4th or 5th round compensatory pick back for him down the road. This is why I like this deal a little bit more necessarily than the Roy Robertson deal, though he definitely flashed in that Atlanta Falcon game. But with that one, of course, you're taking on future money on top of that deal. That was sort of erasing what leftover cap space you had for 2025, where this doesn't put you on the hook for that, and you can come out of this at the end of the day really losing almost nothing. It's not costing you anything dollar-wise. You can get the draft pick compensation back. It's just a little bit down the line, and he improves maybe 2 positions for 1. Hard to shake a stick at this deal. Hard to get too mad about that. And again, you love to see a Seahawks team that believes, at least organizationally speaking here with this move and with a couple of these other moves, that we're not going to sell this season out here yet. We're not looking at this year saying, hey, we're just lucky to be here. We think this can come together. We trust still in this team and the talent we put together, and why shouldn't they? They are sitting in first place after all.